Welcome again, my friends. Today is a new objective while we are on the authentication section. So we're going to work on something that is called the authentication middleware, which means, for example, I am in the front end. So I am in my React application. I want to connect to the server. I'm sending a request, for example, to create or open a conversation, maybe get messages, whatever. So when you want to do that, you need some sort of identification method or something that makes sure that you are a person who is logged in and I know also who you are. And this is where the auth middleware comes in. So as we send in the access token to the front end, when you want to connect to the backend, we're going to send that access token. When I get it in the server, so it is in the request, it protects that request. So I'm going to take that as a middleware before running the controller function. I will check. First of all, does this access token exist? Okay, so it exists. So you might be logged in. And then check, I will verify this. If it's still valid and I can actually retrieve the user informations inside that access token, yeah, then you are logged in and I will be able to let you in the server and to do certain things because I already know that you're logged in and I know who you are. It is very important. So let me show you how we're going to do that. So I'm just going to go, for example, and let me go to my routes. And I'm going to go to the auth route, for example, and I'm going to create another route. This is just simply for testing purposes. I'm not even going to add any function. So this, for example, is a GET request, and it's / let's say, testing auth, for example, middleware, like that. So this is simply what it does. Maybe right here, we can just create like a simple function, that has requests. And maybe I want to do it this way. So request and then response. Sorry, what am I doing? So request, response. And then simply right here, we'll see something like resend hello. Okay, just something simple so we can test with. And we're going to remove it, of course. So I can go and test this. So I can go back to my Postman and I will create a new request. So add request. And this is, let's say, testing auth middleware. And then this is simply, we already have that there. So I can go to the HTTP, okay, then to API version 1 auth and then testing middleware, and it's a GET request. I send. And this is a GET response of hello. But let's say I want this route or this request that I'm going to send here to be protected. And I need to know who is this person who is annoying us here. So we're going to do that. So you're going to go to your middlewares right here. And we're going to create a new file. We're going to call this auth middleware, for example. Middleware.js, of course. And here, what we have to do is create a function as, so let's go export default and then a synchronous function. So we could use like arrow functions. It is totally fine. And this function is going to have a request and then a response and then also next. Okay, that's what we do have in a function. So, and then simply what you want to understand is when we send a certain request, like for example, I am here. Let's say I want to send some sort of information. So for authorization to see who I am, where do I send it? I actually send it in the headers. So in the headers, as a key, it is called authorization right here. And then we actually send the value of the access token right here. So we send it in the headers under the name of authorization. There is that access token there. And we send it. I will actually take that and see what is actually going on. So for example, I am now in my front end. I have this user that is logged in and I have this access token here that exists right here. So maybe I want to actually use that access token and this, or maybe I can just go from my backend here. I can go to the login and I can log in here. So when I log in, I will get an access token at the end. I will actually be able to take that and then simply go to testing auth middleware right here. And then what I'm going to do is just simply go to authorization in the headers. Yeah. And then in the value right here, I would say, first of all, beware, this is like a convention that you do, and then space, and then you will paste your access token that you get. So now when I send, I can actually see if this authorization exists in the header. That is the first thing. So if it doesn't exist, I'm not even going to talk to you because you're not sending me the auth like way of doing this. Okay. For example, you don't have the identification tool at least, or you don't have your card. You don't have the key. So if it doesn't even exist, like this is not, chosen, that means you don't even have the key. So I'm not even going to talk to you. What that means is I can go back to my middleware right here. And what I'm going to do, let me zoom in a bit. So I can go here and see if there is in the request. Then if I go to headers right here and then look for authorization. So if it doesn't exist, I'm just simply not gonna talk to you. I'm saying again, return, and then I will create. So I'm gonna go, actually I can just use next. So next right here, and what I'm gonna do is create an HTTP error right here, and it's gonna be of type unauthorized like this. And simply that means you are not authorized to talk to me because you don't even have the key. We're not even making sure if it's the right key. You don't even have the key from the beginning. So if I went back, for example, and I'm not choosing this, so what I have to do first, is I go back. I'm gonna take this, function that I have in the auth middleware. I have to go to my route and actually import it first. So right here, I can go import and then auth middleware. So I got it, and I have to actually do it. So I can add it here. So this is like gonna run as a middleware between this. So it doesn't run the next function before this. So when we allow and everything is ready, then you can go here. So now if I went back here and I try to send, I'm not even gonna talk to you. I'm gonna say unauthorized. You don't have to write. But if I added at least the key, so now you're ready at least to check if the key is right or not. So I hope I'm explaining this well. Authorization can be sometimes tricky, so I'm trying my best to explain it for all of you to understand it. So now I'm gonna first of all get like if it doesn't exist, we're gonna return. That means if we continue right here, it does exist, but it does exist in this form of a bearer token. That means it doesn't only have the access token, but it has this bearer convention in the beginning also. So I have to get at least the full thing. That is the first start. So I'm gonna go and call this bearer token like this. And what I'm gonna do is just simply gonna go to the request.headers, and then simply with the authorization name right here. So now if I actually return that, I can return that I got all of it. So for example, if I went rest.send and I send what? I send the bearer token right here. I can go now and try again, and I'm sending, I'm gonna get all of it, okay? But this is not the access token. The access token is just simply this, and it doesn't have the bearer. So what we have to do is we're gonna take this full string and we're gonna split it. And split it by what? By the space between them. And then we'll simply get the second part. So how we're gonna do that? I'm just gonna go right here and I'm saying const and then token. And simply I'm gonna go to the bearer token. Actually, I am not even naming it right. So bearer, I feel like this is right. So bearer token, I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna split. And what I'm gonna use to split is space. And then I need to get, so it's gonna give you an array of like the elements splitted. So it's gonna have the first element, which is 0, which is gonna be bearer. And then the second one is gonna be the part from the right of the space. So that's it's gonna be the token itself. So now if I respond and send the actual token here, just to show you, if I went back and I actually send here, I will get only the token. Okay, so that is the first thing. So we've done that, that is cool. So now that I have the token, I need to actually test if this token is valid. We're gonna verify and see if it's still valid, if it's like not expired, does it even have the informations I need? So how are we gonna do that? So simply I can go GWT, so I need to import that. So I'm gonna go import GWT from JSON with token, and then I will use the verify function. So verify right here is a very simple function. It takes, we used this before, so it takes the token. So we're gonna give it the token, which is simply we just right here split it and got. And then the second thing, it takes the secret. So the secret from process.env.access. I actually want to just copy it. I'm too lazy. I'm gonna take the access token. Okay, the access token secrets. Don't worry if you see some information right here. Don't worry, because I'm recording this video after working a little bit on the front end, just because I feel like it should be in this section. But don't worry, nothing is different. So it's gonna work for you. So after we pass in this secret right here for the access token, we're gonna have a callback function. If an error, we're gonna get error, and also gonna get the payload, which is the actual token after verifying. So I'm gonna go here. So if we have an error, you can just simply go console log error. So error, for example, for now, this is what we're gonna do. Else, so if everything is fine, so yeah, else maybe I just go right and do, let me just leave it like that, because at the end of the day, I can just maybe return this console, and we don't, or maybe just console log and then return like this, because we don't want to continue just for now, just to show you something. And then I'm gonna go to the request, and I'm gonna go and add you could say a property there that is called the user, and it has the payload. Okay, so what I'm doing right now, and then next, so it can go to the next function. So when you give it next, you give it the access to go to the next function. So what is the reason I'm using this? So let's say, for example, I'm sending the key. I take the key, or for example, the card, I validate it, and I know it's right. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna give you, for example, I'm gonna go to let's say you send me some papers. I'm gonna take these papers and I'm gonna add a property that is called, for example, user, which has your information. Why? Because you gave me the keys and I actually verified who you are. So I can give you like an extra information that has your information. So that means now if I went to this function right here, which is this one, like after that comes after, in its request, I can actually have another property that is called request.user. So this is the beautiful thing about it, about all of this, because in the request.user, I can actually see what informations. And the reason for that, so I can go right here and I can go to the request.user because I'm sending the key, I'm sending the auth middleware. I know what is going on. And it's not going to be no error. So it's going to go to the request and ask this value user and next. And then right here, I can actually go to the request.user and I'm going to have it. Let me prove it. I go back, I send. You see right here, I get an object which has the user informations, which is the user ID. And by this user ID, when you want to do any operation, let's say you want to send a message, I know who you are. I'm not going to ask you to send me what is the user ID because I already have the key, I verified it, I got your ID, and I can use it to do whatever you want for you because I know you. And also I can use this ID to make sure that, for example, are you an admin or just a normal user? So this auth middleware is something very cool. So when it's come to this error right here, people treated it differently. So like you can go just simply return, and then you will go next, and then you will go create HTTP error dot unauthorized right here, and that's it. And that's enough. So for example, if you had like a problem with anything, let's say I added something, I say a character and I send, I will just get unauthorized, and that's understandable. Some people will treat it differently. What I mean by that, because you gotta understand when you get an error, you're always gonna get a property that is called error.name, which is the name. And that's define the type of error, you could say. So JSON Web Tokens return few different type of errors defined by the name. And some of them you could say that are fine to show to the user. All of them are actually fine except one. So for example, if the name equal to anything like GWT and straight, let me just show you. For example, I can go, before doing that, I can console log the error.name. And let me open the console right here. And if I went back and send, I know there's an error. It's going to see me unauthorized, but right here I will get an error type that says right here JSON Web Token error. Okay, and if you console log the error right here, just to say something, so error dot, is there a message here? Yeah, there is a message. We can console log that. Let me just show you. So I send, I get this type of error, which says something invalid signature, for example. So there is types of error that you can actually show that are fine and some that are not fine. For example, if you're going to say something like invalid signature, like how is that going to help the user? Like how is that helping anyone to, like when you send this type of message to the user? It doesn't. But there are some other types of error that's going to say, something that could be understandable for the user. This is not valid or something like that. But for me, I just like to treat, no matter what the error is, I don't take the user, and put him in the position to say, oh, what is this? I actually understand if it says like a GWT something. No, the user should not care about this. This is something for us. So just return unauthorized, and then you can console log the error for yourself if you want to. But there is no need for that because there is no error in our code. The only error could be is if the user is not logged in, and that means he's unauthorized. So that's the way I like to treat it. Everything, no matter what the situation is, you're just unauthorized for me.